Okay, wonderful.
Okay, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm Diana Furukawa. I'm the director of the Millinocket Library, and I was involved in planning this series. And I'm really glad you're all making time to have this really important conversation. I'm going to go over a couple of housekeeping things first, and then we'll get into our lovely speakers. So for security reasons, we have muted those over Zoom. We had a little issue with that the first event. So if you're participating on Zoom, just send a message to the host or raise your hand if you want to ask a question. And for those of you in person, good old-fashioned raising your hand works for that. For those in person as well, there are 3 bathrooms. They're directly behind you back there. And masks are optional as of this week. Just a reminder, all of these are being recorded because we want to be able to share what we're learning with people who couldn't make it tonight. So keep that in mind as you share. But if you do end up sharing something and you really aren't comfortable with it, after the fact, just let me or Nicole know and we'll probably be able to edit that out. So Nicole is going to put in the chat where you can find the recordings and all of the resources that we've shared tonight and at the previous 3 programs. But for those of you here, it's Millinocket Memorial Library.org. I know it's a mouthful, /recovery. So basically the library's website /recovery. So that's where we're going to be compiling everything and continually updating these resources as new information becomes available. Lastly, I'm just going to ask, probably don't need to say this, people have been great, but please be respectful. People are going to be sharing some really vulnerable stuff tonight, and we just want to honor the fact that they've chosen to share with us by honoring their experiences. Oh, I forgot one more thing. We are going to be using a little flag system just to make sure that we stay on track. We're going to have a lot of people sharing both their recovery stories and resources from the community and beyond. So we want to make sure we stay on track. Please don't take this personally, but I know people get passionate and they want to keep talking and going. So we have a yellow flag. Nicole, you want to demo the yellow flag means try to keep, get to the point. Okay. And what's the orange flag mean?
You're done. You're done.
Yeah.
We're muting you.
So thank you for bearing with us. We acknowledge that people have so much to say about this, and that's why next week, during the same time, Tuesday at 6:30, we're going to be holding space here. It'll be a lot less structured and just a time for people to process what they've learned and other ways that they might want to move forward with what they've learned. So that'll be 6:30 to 8 here at the library only. That won't be a recorded hybrid session. So our guiding question tonight is, where do we go from here? The past 3 weeks, we have gotten oriented to the issues of addiction and incarceration in our community and in our state, really. We've learned the systemic issues. We've learned it on a very personal level, too, through the stories of people who've been incarcerated, which are around us, and I invite you to check out. We've also learned from politicians about things that they're trying to address these issues. And we've learned about some of the causes, from trauma to other adverse childhood experiences. I think we could all use a little bit of hope. That's what Susan pointed out when we were planning this. We need to have some hope in there. People are just going to get discouraged and walk away. So that's kind of what tonight is about. We have this huge problem. Who's successful? Who is thriving? Who's surviving? Recovery, entry, all of these issues. So we're going to start out by hearing some recovery stories from people in our own community. And then we're going to transition and we're going to hear from, I think, over 10 resource groups, maybe almost 20. Yeah. Sorry, guys. 15 to 20 resource groups from our community, and also statewide ones that people in our community can access. So we're just going to get the tip of the iceberg from each one. And there's also a resource table in the back. So for those of you in person, stop by on your way out and you can pick up pamphlets from a lot of these groups and learn more later on. So that's kind of an outline of the evening. And Charlie here, sorry to keep you on camera so long. He has offered to go first and share his recovery story. So I'm going to let Charlie speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Diane. First of all, I want to thank Diane. I call her boss. She heads up the library here in Millinocket. And Nicole, they have put on a very successful conversation over the past 4 weeks. I want to thank them for that. The conversation over the last 4 weeks have been about the systemic problems connected with substance abuse, mental health. And they've done a wonderful job keeping the conversation on that issue, the systemic problems, rather than what some would like to do is blame the situations on the victims, the many victims of what has happened in the last 10, 15 years of I call it medical malpractice. The doctors and the hospitals have combined to listening to the drug companies, and they really have perpetrated a myth on the American public that I have a hard time accepting. But during that time, I guess what I'm really here to address is, success in recovery. And I guess I'll keep it to that topic. For the last 37 years, I've been practicing recovery. So, I don't like to talk about myself that way because I'm not public with my recovery. I kind of practice in an anonymous program. That anonymous program teaches me ego deflation. It teaches me not to be the center of the universe. It teaches me to practice keeping my part small, which I have managed to do pretty well over the last 37 years. During the last few years, like I said, a few years ago, I read that book that's beginning to get the publicity that it needs. Dope Sick. I've been learning about those issues in the last few years after reading that book, and what I'm finding is there's all kinds of different recovery programs. There's all different ways and means to recovery, and I've opened my eyes. That book kind of opened my eyes, because that ego deflation program that I have been practicing, kind of suggests that we keep it to one topic and we don't talk about broader issues. Well, for years I've been saying, we have to let new people in. We have to talk about what's going on with our children. And that has gradually happened. The 12-step programs have opened up to more and more people. And again, what I've been seeing in the last few years is people being loud and proud of recovery. So I'm okay talking about the past 37 years, because I want to pass that on to the next generation. I want to pass on that we can recover. Recovery can be better than anything you can imagine. That's the way my recovery has been. I started 37 years ago, and I really was at the bottom. I stopped drinking on the last day of my first marriage. My first wife walked out with my 3-year-old son, and she did good. She did good for herself. She actually did good for me because I took that as a reason to stop drinking. And I haven't had a drink since that night that she left with my 3-year-old son. And I'm really, it's not so much proud. It's not that I'm so proud of that. I'm proud of the recovery program I have found. The recovery program that shows me how to live. It shows me how to stay away from one drink for one day. And it's a real simple program. We practice simple ideas like easy does it, take it easy, let go and let God. These simple ideas have worked for me for all these years. And we have a 12-step program that allows me to know myself. You know, it gives me insights into my psyche. You know, it gives me insights into my causes and conditions of my alcoholism and drug abuse. You know, I've learned over the years that there really isn't too much difference between the different substances. Alcohol is but a symbol of my addictions. It's but a symbol of my life. Alcohol I used it as a medicine. It helped me to survive. And, you know, and what the recovery program has taught me, and what I'd like to pass on, is there's so much more to life than surviving. You know, it has taught me to live. It's given me a life that really has been second to none, beyond anything I could have imagined. One of the things that I've been able to do in recovery is, you know, I learned to share, and in that sharing, God has blessed me. At one point, he blessed me with like 4 different homes that I could share with people in recovery. And there were some people that have really taken advantage of that for the good. You know, they've rented properties off me while they're getting college educations. And because God gave me these homes as a gift, they've been able to afford the, you know, instead of giving them a handout, I never gave a handout, but I did give a handout. And that has come back to me tenfold. You know, it really is part of the way of life that the lifestyle I practice, you know, that's what it's taught me. And it's what, you know, it's what, I guess I was told to talk about my successes. It has helped me be successful. And it has, you know, allowed me economic, no, I'm not really wealthy, but I don't have any issues. I'm now retired. I've been retired for most of the last 20 years. You know, to me, that's success. And to be able to share what I have with others has been a real blessing. But I also think that it's been you know, I've been able to maintain a number of houses in town so that other people could pick them up and keep them in the housing market. You know, I feel real blessed that I've been able to do that, but I also think, you know, what I've been able to do over these past 37 years could be a role model for what I know a lot of people are trying to do here in town. And I'm reasonably sure that we can all expand on these simple ideas. And I really would love to see it. And I haven't seen any flag over here.
Sorry.
So wrap it up.
You want me to be the enforcer?
Absolutely. Enforcer.
Yeah.
Careful, you're gonna get the orange one.
Yeah, watch out, Charlie.
So I'll take it on myself. I'll wrap this up because I see a lot of people in this audience that I know are well worth listening to. So thank you for asking me to talk. And I guess I
Thank you,
would-
Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. So next up, we're gonna have Steve Goalie share his story.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Golib. Thank you for having me. And thank you to the library and to Sue and to all those who have put this series on. It's incredible to see this many people show up, not only in person, but on Zoom as well, and for this to be a resource beyond this as well. So obviously a very important issue, and appreciate all of your efforts. I'm the chairman of the town council here in Millinocket. After me, we'll have the manager of the town of Millinocket. We're both very excited to share our stories, and I think it's very encouraging that we both have experience in this area so that we can understand, where this issue fits within our community. Thank you, Charlie, for sharing what you did. You mentioned survival and being in survival mode, and I think that's a very key point to being in addiction. A metaphor that I often think about is this monkey in Africa, where people can actually trap it by carving a small hole in a trunk and put in nuts in there. And the hand of the monkey is big enough to fit in, but when it grabs the nuts, it's too big to pull out. You could have a whole basket of nuts right next to it, and you can even walk up to the monkey and kill it or beat it or whatever. And it won't let go because it's just completely fixated on that handful of nuts. And I think that relates a lot to addiction, as being in survival and feeling, that one more time or that one more fix or that one more thing is going to somehow keep you alive. Or prevent you from dealing with the things that are difficult to deal with. For myself, I grew up in New York City. I had a lot of life circumstances that pushed me into exploring drugs and alcohol. And after many, many months of getting into heavier and heavier things, my family and others realized the ongoing issue and that it was really getting a lot worse. At the time, I had a mentor in my life who offered me this incredible opportunity to go to Europe and live on the Mediterranean and pursue music, which is something that mattered a lot to me, and learn a new language and really experience a whole new chapter in my life. And the only thing I could think about was that I had one joint in my pocket. And if I didn't, if I went on that incredible dream that I've always wanted, I wouldn't be able to have that one joint. And that really is kind of like the monkey metaphor. It's taken me many more years after that of going through rehab and many more relapses to, in my experience anyway, find the reasons that I wanted to be healthy for myself and to have my own sense of value for myself. And for me, that was the biggest turning point, is realizing that I was worth being healthy for, that survival is a hell of a lot worse than living life. It's different for everyone. And that's really what it comes down to. Some people can eventually, like myself, I was eventually able to get myself to a point where I can have one glass of wine. And that was the biggest feat that I've ever had to face in my life. It was a big goal for me as I was going through recovery, especially because my experiences in Europe, wine is a very normal thing. You start drinking it at a much earlier age, but when I first got there, clearly, I wasn't ready for that. But culturally and all that, I appreciated wine, and I thought to myself, you know, I want to get to the point where I can have one glass of wine again. It took me about 10 years or so of absolute rock bottom, and then all the way back on top, and then all the way up rock bottom, and all the way back up, to eventually deal with my internal issues that caused me to turn to alcohol and to drugs. In the context of the town, you know, it's kind of the theme of tonight. Where do we go from here? Like I said, I'm very excited that myself and the town manager have unique experiences in this area. Obviously, stigma is a huge issue. I would love to see our town become a place where we can find a way to normalize the issue, not normalize the fact that people are in addiction, but normalize the fact that people struggle not just with addiction, but many other issues as well. To realize that almost everyone is affected by this, whether it's the person themselves, their immediate family members, their spouses, and all the, you know, all the circles around them. Acceptance is a huge, huge part of not only recovery for yourself, but for the community itself. To accept that it is an issue, to accept that you can't just tell someone to stop. You can't just put them in jail. You can't just make another law. You can't just create another this or do another that, another fine. We have to accept that it's an issue that we all have to be patient with, that we all have to be understanding of, and create the right environment to actually encourage people to get into recovery. Obviously, we have a lot of hurdles in the way of funding and other things like that to create the programs that we can. Personally, I wish that we had the tax base and the federal and state funds to be able to solve a lot of these issues. But the fact is we don't. We have very little funding. What we do have is our ability to communicate and our ability to relay our experiences as we are right now and see how that ripples out into the community and not stop it. I would love to have events where we can honor those who have gone through recovery and have achieved it. I would love to have things like this out in public, out in the schools, out in even downtown areas, to where this can just become a thing that we face as a community. I don't see any other way around it. That's my experience. Those are my opinions.
Next up, Peter Jameson.
This is certainly a different venue than a church basement. My name is Peter Jameson. I'm going to do this slightly out of order, so let me start. My name is Peter Jameson. In the past handful of years in this community here, I've been director of our Chamber of Commerce. I've been the president of that board of directors. Been the economic development director for our region. Been the chair of our school board. And now I'm the town manager. And I am an alcoholic. It's I do get emotional talking about this because, you know, Charlie spoke briefly about a life second to none. I live a life today that I never thought was possible. I never thought it was in the cards for me. I had to get out of my own way to do that. I got drunk the first time at age 14. just right off into, I was an alcoholic from, before that, but I drank alcoholically for the next 15 years. It got in the way of advancement in my life in so many ways. At first it kind of fueled the fire. I was a performing arts kid. I had a lot of musical ability. I loved being on the stage. I could survive on the stage much better than I could hanging out with my friends or a group of people I wasn't familiar with. But I realized pretty quick that if I got a pretty good buzz on, I could be very social, and I could be the life of the party, and everybody would laugh, and that started to become an issue. I was a daily drinker throughout the last couple of years of my high school experience here in this town. Got to know UI when I was 19 years old. I struggled to keep a license for many years after that. My life was an absolute mess. I could not advance. I couldn't step away from drugs and alcohol. It was a vice. I always knew internally I had skills. I always knew I was smart. I always knew I could do more, but I couldn't stop. Some of us were dealt a bad hand of cards. Some of us lost the game right out the gate. We can't have one drink. We can't smoke one joint. We can't do one line. We can't. That got in the way of my college education. I had an incredible opportunity to study music in Los Angeles. I went to college on Hollywood Boulevard to study music in a performing sense. And I basically threw that away while I was there because I couldn't stop drinking. I could not stop drinking. Fast forward many years, I'm back here in Millinocket. I am, at that point, I'm a mess. I was severely overweight at that point in time, incredibly unhealthy, dependent on daily alcohol or drug use. And in the world of recovery, we talk about how you're not ready till you're ready, right? People you can't reach out and help somebody who needs to be helped. You just can't. It's a personal. It's a moment. It's not even a choice. It's a personal moment where you reach a bottom. I drugged my wife and one of my children into complete poverty and struggle. I remember I couldn't get or hold a really good job, and I couldn't step away from drinking, right, the whole time. So I was spending on that. So I remember digging in the couch for change so that we could afford a meal for my pregnant wife, because she needed to eat to feed our baby. Wasn't even born yet, but I was drinking. November 26, 2017, I hit my bottom. I was going to lose those people. We got in one last fight. And fighting the Prince, the Fresh Prince opportunity there. We got in one more fight. That was the day after Thanksgiving. And we were making arrangements to be done and live in separate houses by the first of the year. We were going to fake the holidays, split up and go. I drove to work the next morning, Saturday morning. Probably shouldn't have. I sat in the parking lot at work and I cried and I cried and I cried and I called my wife and I said, I'm done. Done. I'm not drinking anymore. This is the last one. Take a guess at what she said.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I haven't had a sip of alcohol since that day. So yeah, it's almost brushing up on 4.5 years or so. And you know, it takes a while. In sobriety, it takes a while for your brain to clear up, right? Once that happened, I had a lot of catching up to do. You know, I had missed out on 15 years. I got out of my own way eventually. You know, Charlie mentioned earlier you know, it's just a piece of recovery. The drinking alcohol, it really is. It's just a piece of it. You can eliminate the alcohol and still be a complete wreck. I had to learn how to process emotions. I had to retrain my thinking. That's the next step. You know, that's at that moment in, you know, 6-8 months in, when I started to get out of that fog, I decided that I was going to be a good person and I was going to keep doing the next right thing. At one point, you know, I talked about my experiences here locally, and I'm proud of those. I'm also proud of the fact that the person that hired me gave me that opportunity to break into the professional world. Person that made the final decision to hire me as the director of our Chamber of Commerce fired me 4 years beforehand because of my alcoholism. Just a few years later, that came around full circle, and I was able to show my worth and my value as a you know, a worthy citizen, a good person, a smart person. And I've only grown ever since. And I don't plan on looking back. I never want to have to experience that again. I will never, God help me, go back and have to stop drinking. I don't want to do that. I am a little different than the norm in the recovery world. Speaking of, you know, people who got there long before I did, I'm very open about it. I'm very honest. I'm an open book. I'll talk to anybody about it. This is the first time I've spoken in public about it. But it needs to be spoken about more, you know, every once in a while, even if I put a post on social media or something, it inspires one other person that needs to talk. And if I can help one other person, that's the value that I see, you know, and I say it often, but I am living proof that there's life on the other side of this. You know, thank you for listening to my story, and thank you to the library and everybody who came together to put this on. And I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad to see it so well attended.
I was just gonna say, can I give you a hug?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Aw, she forgot all about it. Bad enforcement.
I want one
So the
Right.
The next two videos that we have are, you're actually, for those in person, I direct you to look up here. They recorded them in advance because I couldn't be here tonight, but we're gonna hear from Allison Porter, who was a resident at Breaking the Cycle, and Cna Cohort, who was also a resident there. Okay, so let's bring it back in. Thanks for bearing with us for an early break. So next we're going to hear from Cna Cohort. So whenever you're ready, Nicole.
Okay.
My name is Cna Cohort, and I started off in detox when I found Breaking the Cycle through the detox that I was in at Penn Bay. And I got right in to Breaking the Cycle, and they transported me from Penn Bay to Breaking the Cycle. And I was there until about August, from January to August. And while I was there, I found my sobriety, and I really just enjoyed being sober there. And I got a lot of help through them. And I reunified with my children while I was in there, which really helped me a lot. So when I graduated from there, I continued into the sober apartments that Heidi opened. So that's where I'm at now. And I have my children there with me, which has been an adjustment because it's just been hard, but Heidi's very supportive and she's there for me for like whatever I need. She helped me get them into school, and they both just started today. So, and I've been sober for 13 months and 2 weeks.
Was there any kind of turning point in your recovery journey, or any moment of clarity or anything you want to share?
I think it's just like the support that I got there. Nothing else has worked for me. I've been to like a few other rehabs and detoxes, and nothing worked at all. But the way that this Breaking the Cycle is set up, and just the support I got there and continue to get, has just, it's been amazing. It's helped me like with everything. And like I'm continuing in school, and it's been a life changer for me.
Want to give her a round of applause? Even if she's not here? Next up, we have Allison Porter.
My name is Allison Porter. I was incarcerated and looking at a lot of time, and I found out I was pregnant with him, and I applied at Breaking the Cycle, was accepted. I was there for about 7 months, maybe almost 8, because they allowed me to stay there. Because like right at the 6-month mark, I was planning on having him. So I stayed after, and then I was going to the McCully house. I went there for about 2 months. It was a little bit too much, I guess. I wasn't at that level anymore that I needed, so I went to Heidi's supported apartments, I guess you would say, where I live alone now. So I am able to work. I work from home at a advertising like marketing agency now. That like I would have never had the opportunity, or would I even dare to try doing a job like that. But Heidi was the one that pushed me, and I did it, and now I'm actually doing really well in it. I am back in school, and I guess, yeah, I don't know what else to say.
What did you learn in your recovery process? Is there anything you would share with someone who's maybe struggling themselves?
I would just say that, I mean, recovery is an everyday job. You have to be active. You have to have a support system. I came back to Millinocket because I realized that I was fighting it so badly that I didn't want to come back here. That this is basically like where I put my actual roots down, and I have my support, my family that I call family now, and it's just tough, I guess, sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't change it for anything. Being sober is a lot better than using.
So we're going to switch gears a little. We're actually going to hear from our resource groups first and from Heidi at the end. Heidi is in South Carolina, I should add, but she did record a pretty inspiring message for all of us about where we can go from here and how we can organize towards some solutions in our community. But we're going to start with we're calling it a resources round robin, whatever that means. So we're going to start with our in-person groups. I know we have peer-to-peer here, Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness, AA, and the options program. And if I missed you, let me know. So each group can come up here to the hot seat for a minute or two and just explain what kind of services you offer, those key services, where you're located or kind of your service area, and how people can learn more. So we're going to try to keep it really brief. We'll be sending everyone out of here with a pretty in-depth resource list, and that's also going to be on the webpage. So hopefully people will follow up afterwards. So I think peer-to-peer is up first. Do we have Michelle or? Okay, awesome. And we will be using our flag system again. So I apologize.
Sure you will. Seems to be a difficult job. My name is Michelle Anderson, and along with my partner, Ginger, we run Peer-to-Peer Recovery Center. We've been in business for just a little over 2 years. It was 2 years on Valentine's Day. And we offer an ever-changing array of services. We do recovery coaching. We have people coming in from where they want to get into detox, so before they're even into sobriety, to people with 30 years coming in and just encouraging people. One of the things we offer besides recovery coaching, we have free coats, new heavy winter coats that we give out for free. We charge for nothing. We accept donations, but that's it. We have free food. We have we're like a resource hub. So if you had problems with not having a home or not having money for food, if you don't have Maine care, you can come in and we can help hook you up with that. That's something that we do a lot of. We consider everybody in Millinocket, actually in the region, to be in recovery because we're all, I don't know a soul in either of the 3 towns or the smaller towns who are not affected by substance use disorder. About 4 years ago, we had a drug-related murder. The man that got murdered left his building, which was a marijuana growing place, to his wife, and she's our landlady. That's where we are now. That particular murder changed this area a lot with people not feeling safe and changing their lifestyles to be safer. And there was a visible change. So everybody's welcome. And actually, I don't remember ever asking anybody where they were from before we gave services. So, you know, we are a place where we can have meetings. We're not a 12-step program. There are a lot of 12-step meetings there. We're also starting a smart recovery before the end of April. We believe in all paths. If you think it's going to work for you, we'll try it. Recovery, in my book, is sort of like a smorgasbord. So you go in and you get all the food and you think the shrimp looks pretty good. And so you sit down and you're eating and the shrimp isn't that good. So you go back and you get some steak and broccoli. And that's kind of what recovery is like for a lot of people. We don't know what's going to work. You don't know what's going to work. All you can do is say, I'm in recovery, help me, and try this. That doesn't work. We'll try that. So it's kind of a complicated thing for people. We're able to help in that area as well. We also have toys and clothing and cleaning supplies and soap and shampoo, pretty much anything. If we don't have it, you can drop in and let us know and we'll try to get it. Geez, Ginger, what else?
Yeah, one service we have that.
Here, come here. You sit here. They gotta see you.
I'm better off back there.
Hi, everyone. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for everyone that is sharing tonight. It's an amazing community effort, and to solve the problem of addiction here, it needs to be a community effort. It is a serious problem. One of the things I was holding this up to Michelle, we recently have been able to offer medically assisted treatment here at Peer to Peer, and that is for Suboxone. And that is through Blue Sky Counseling. That is not us. We have an outfit that comes in that is prepared to do this in a good, orderly fashion. And we are currently dealing with 4 people that are taking advantage of that service. It's helpful because the issue with a lot of treatment, Suboxone, methadone, it's out of town and it's Bangor and there's no transportation. And that's another issue here is transportation. And it's not just out to Bangor, it's town to town to town, because we've got 3 of them strung. We've got Medway, East, and Millinocket, and we service all of the Katahdin region. We are located in Millinocket. We're lucky we have a wonderful visible place that's right there on the main highway to come in. It's easy in, easy out. So we're easily reached, but we're at the far end of those communities and the far end in the region as well. So we also offer, a lot of our programs are all available online. So if you can't get a ride, you can tune into our webpage and connect very easily, and you can be boom right into that meeting. So transportation is not a barrier to that, as well. So we're always trying to look at the community. What are the needs? What are the issues? And we're trying to make it a place where you can come, you can talk about it. If it's not available, if it's something we do not know or we don't offer, we can find it, we can work something out. The idea is that we put our heads together and we get this problem solved. So, peer to peer is I think it's a much needed entity here. along with recovery homes and the services provided there. It's a nice conduit of services. So we hope to see a lot more happen here, you know, with recovery. So that's it on my end.
Next up, I think we have Erica from Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. Thanks for being here.
Sorry. Thank you for bearing with my little one.
Um,
He always makes an appearance. So my name is Erica. I work with Wabanaki Public Health and Wellness. I lead a lot of their recovery programs alongside an amazingly wonderful team of people, which includes the people in this room. And we are an Indigenous organization that supports the 5 Wabanaki communities within the state of Maine, as well as any Indigenous person living in the state of Maine. And with our recovery programs, we are really offering a full selection of supports from detox, which will be opening soon, which will be located in Bangor. And that detox will be, which is so needed, because I don't know how many people call the detoxes every single day. I do. And I know we have no beds available today for detox in the state of Maine. So it's a pretty scary number. So we'll be offering from detox through transition into IOP and partial hospitalization for recovery treatment, as well as step down into recovery homes. And we really, our programming is focused for Indigenous people within Maine. I don't know how many people know, but Indigenous people in the state of Maine are one of the hardest hit groups of people with addiction and overdose. We're less than 0.9% of the population in the state of Maine, and we were 27% of the overdoses in the state of Maine last year. That's a staggering number. And, you know, we realize that as Indigenous people, you know, we know that the gateway to addiction isn't a drug, it's trauma. And we have intergenerational trauma to heal from. We have historical trauma to heal from. And we have loss of culture, loss of language, loss of children, family through forced separation. And it's that healing process that we are really focused on. It's the connection between the evidence-based CBT, DBT, all of those treatment modalities within standard treatment programs, but also the connection to culture, whether it's the land that we walk on. I mean, our properties here in Millinocket are Penobscot territory. They are traditional Wabanaki lands. Katahdin as a mountain is sacred to us. It's a ceremonial space, and we have that connection. So we really focus on building that connection, having access to ceremony, having access to learn from elders in recovery, and really growing that way and building that connection. And that's really what we offer, from detox to IOP to treatment, step downing to recovery housing, to be able to help support reintegration into communities. And we know that the opposite of addiction isn't recovery, it's connection. It's having that person to person connection. And that's what we support. We really build that connection. We build that connection back into our culture, to learn to dance, to drum. You know, I tell a story. I've been in recovery for almost 14 years now, and I still to this day have a hard time dancing. And a couple of years ago, well, before the pandemic hit, we have something called the Wabanaki Social, which is our spring social, which is where we welcome the change of the season and the moving from the reflective season of winter, where you're inside, you're reflecting, to the growing and building season of the spring. And I said to my dad, I said, hey, I was talking to my son, I was like, Gonig, he speaks more Passamaquoddy than he does English. And you know, I was like, are you going to dance with Mumu at the social? And my dad looked at me and he goes, Musum is how you say grandfather in Passamaquoddy. And he looked at me and he said, well, you know, he can dance with mama too. And in my head, I said, I don't have a right to dance. And that's what our program does. It really helps to build and support that reconnection of people into their culture, into our traditional ways, into our food, our healing medicines, so that we have a chance to heal. And it's growing, and it's pretty amazing to watch, and I'm really grateful to be a part of it. So that's what we offer. So thank you guys for inviting us here tonight, and
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Charlie Cerami again, to share about some of the Alcoholics Anonymous programs available in the area.
Okay, first a disclaimer. I am not a spokesperson for AA. And I'm sure there's members of the audience know that I'm not a spokesperson for the town, even though I'm on some of their boards. First, again, I want to thank Diana and this library. You know, what it takes is a community. You know, my recovery has been physical, mental, and spiritual. And physical, one of the things the library is doing now is putting out bicycles and kayaks and canoes. And I'm sure that that's going to build this community, you know, with the physical part of recovery. There's an opportunity here in Millinocket. Thank you. AA is part of this community, has been part of this community for as long as I've been here, which has been well over 40 years. Matter of fact, St. Andrew's Church, the one that they share the backyard right here with the library, has been mentoring or supporting AA for the last 50 years. They've been supporting recovery. Recovery is the solution. It's not, drugs and alcohol are not the problem. Recovery is the solution to those problems. And that church, the Catholic Church, has been supportive from as long as I can remember. Millinocket Community Hospital has supported AA meetings. The Congo Church has had 12-step groups and AA meetings for the past 10, 15 years. This community, Millinocket community, has supported recovery for generations now. It hasn't been a problem. It's been a solution. You know, a lot of people don't even know where these meetings are because people in recovery are not, they're not out there robbing banks. They're not stealing your purse. People in recovery are reaping the benefits of recovery. The whole community reaps those benefits when we come out to these 12-step groups. We meet with people on a daily basis. You can find an AA meeting in this town every day of the week. You know, a lot of people that aren't connected don't recognize that, but it's there, and it's there for the taking. In the last couple of years, I want to review what I've seen in the last couple of years. These couple of ladies here that have put the peer-to-peer together. These two that really understand what community is about. You know, I go up to that spot and I see volunteers sharing and caring. It's amazing. The last couple of years in this town has been amazing. You saw a couple of the girls on screen here, you know, watching them for the past couple of years now, 18 months, I don't know, close to 2 years, watching that breaking the cycle growing over the past couple of years. You know, I've been around recovery for 37 years. This past couple of years in this town has been absolutely amazing. There's something going on here that, you know, I see it as a foundation. a foundation for, well, just for example, I moved from the big city a generation ago. When I left Boston over 40 years ago, there was medical assisted treatment. My friends were getting into medical assisted treatment 40 years ago. It is now reaching Millinocket. It is not a problem. It is part of a solution. And that solution is, it's going to be big. That myth that I was talking about that the drug companies have perpetrated on America, but not just America, on, I call it the Rust Belt, where the economy has gone out and these drug companies rushed in with their dope. Those drug companies are going to start paying, and they're going to start paying to rural America. That's Millinocket. They're going to start paying to indigenous people because they've wreaked havoc on their nation. So these monies are going to start flowing in. I see settlements like $6-7 billion. Another settlement of $26 billion of monies that are going into recovery. And, this is what's starting to flow in. And for the last couple of years, these folks have been laying a foundation that, I think they're ready to receive recovery. I think they're ready to make Millinocket a model that the rest of the country can follow. And that's what I've seen for the last couple of years. And I just, God bless you and just keep doing what you're doing.
Next up, we have Ashley from the Options Program at CHCS.
Hi, my name is Ashley Roberts. I am the Piscataquis County Options Liaison. I am employed through Community Health and Counseling Services in Bangor. My coworker Adam, the Penobscot Liaison, could not be here tonight, so I'm kind of representing us all. But it's fitting Adam and I pair together for most things. We do quite a bit of our work together. So what an Options Liaison does, so it's a state-funded program. Our 1-year mark was in January, so we are fairly new. We primarily work with law enforcement, EMS to follow up with people who have had an overdose or some type of drug or alcohol related interaction with law enforcement or EMS. What that looks like is very different from town to town. In the city of Bangor, we have a weekly ride along with a Bangor police officer, and we kind of go through the data and follow up on each overdose they've had for the week. In some of the smaller towns, it's kind of on an as needed basis. The police chief or one of the officers will call us and say, we have an incident, we'd like you to follow up. Sometimes we go with law enforcement, and sometimes Adam and I go just the two of us. Depends on the situation. Same thing for in Piscataquis County. It can look very different depending on the situation, or even from police department to police department. So we also get referrals from community members. Anyone can call, does not have to be when somebody has an overdose. You can be an affected other. We've done kitchen table meetings with mom and dad and had the son come in and have a conversation about recovery and what their, no pun intended, options are. We basically help people get connected to what's going to be their path. So there's many different pathways: MAT, faith-based, abstinence-based, inpatient, outpatient. So we try to kind of assess in the moment, what can we do today on our first meeting to make this a little easier for you, a little better, and work from there. We do a lot of homeless outreach in Penobscot County. There's a large homeless population. So at least once a week, we go out with a few other community agencies and hit homeless camps or places that we know people are staying. A big push for us is Narcan Distribution. A lot of times when we meet with people, they're not ready for recovery. They don't want any help that day. That is perfectly fine. We don't push people into recovery. We want them to be safer. So getting them to harm reduction supplies, giving them Narcan, showing them how to use the Narcan is kind of our top priority. Some other things that we can do in Piscataquis County, I've started doing Narcan trainings for businesses. Different places, you know, times are changing and you never know when you may need some Narcan. And I think more community members are realizing that and have started kind of asking, let's have it here just in case. Hopefully we don't have to use it, but let's have it here just in case. I did bring some Piscataquis County resource cards. So typically when we follow up with somebody after an overdose, we give them a little packet. So it may have an options first aid kit or a hand sanitizer. It also has Narcan and a resource card. They are the Piscataquis County ones, but Adam and I work so closely together. We share an office in Bangor. You call one of us, we talk about most of the situations together anyways to kind of figure out a plan. Give us a call. I mean, we also have a website that has tons of data. So the data will show you county by county in Maine what the overdose numbers were for last year, different things like that. It connects you to the data hub, which you can find all kinds of statistics on. But yeah, we are trying to, there's an options liaison in every county, and each county does work a little differently. But we are trying to make the connections with every law enforcement agency that there is in the state.
Thank you. Our last in-person resource is Deb Roundtree. You're from Katahdin Higher Education Center.
Thank you, Diana. So my name is Deb Roundtree. I work at Katahdin Higher Education Center, which is a partnership between Eastern Maine Community College and the University of Maine system. I've been there about 25 years. The center historically was built when the collapse of the paper industry and demise of Great Northern Paper Company. So, you know, the community has been in since 2002 in survival mode, just like many of you have. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about how you can thrive and what we have to offer you that will make a difference in your lives or your significant others or people in your family. So the community college system, many of you have probably heard, we have a lot of opportunities that are available entirely right here in this region. When people think about Eastern Maine or the University of Maine, they think of having to travel to Bangor or to another location. My specialty has always been working with adults or people in some sort of transition, life transition, whether it's, you know, a divorce, a loss of a spouse, their children go off to college. And recently, you know, the influx of younger people that have either come back to the region or people that have decided that going off to college isn't always their opportunity at that time. So they come back home. So we're here to bring services that are available here in the region, such as, you know, training from a certificate program, a specialized opportunity for a 1-year certificate or a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree, can be from helping you to apply for financial aid, helping you to remediate a defaulted student loan. Lots of times people have this, you know, black cloud of old student loans or debt over their shoulder, and they feel like they can never go back to school because they can't pay that off. So we have resources to help people find a way to help you pay and get yourself out of that situation to go back to school. We also have many opportunities. I could sit here today and I could probably probably take beforehands to count the opportunities for scholarships and things that are coming down the pipeline for free training for people. It's part of the Maine Community College System's American Recovery Plan. So just for instance, I left some brochures on the table out back. I also left an Excel spreadsheet of all of the current free offerings from the Maine Community College System. So the 7 community college campuses. So those are all free at the moment. In the Katahdin region here, we worked with the hospital to try to help figure out how we can provide training for nurses in the region. So the first cohort of nurses that have been going to school for 2 years at the center to get their 2-year RN program and getting ready to graduate in May. I mean, that's historical for this region. That's never happened before. We are recruiting for the next cohort that would start. So every 2 years, we could start the training here. We partner with Millinocket Regional Hospital. The students are at the center with a hands-on instructor, a clinical instructor. And that instructor takes the students to the hospital to do their clinical partnerships. There's only 2 rotations that people can't take locally. That's OB/GYN, which is, having babies, birthing, or psychiatry, because there are no clinical providers up here. So those students would go, it's just very minimal travel to Bangor to do those rotations. But the students are at the center taking the classes. The other thing that we have offered, we're currently offering a Cna cohort that's available here entirely for free. That was another grant-funded program from the Maine Community College System, which that cost is about $1,400 if people had to pay for that. So we work to provide those sorts of services for people either that can't afford to go to school or that have barriers to going to school or barriers to getting financial aid. I just want to mention we have partners in our building as well. Eastern Maine Development Corporation has been an incredible partner of ours. They've been our direct partner there since 2002, but they provide various workforce opportunities for people that are underemployed, unemployed, single parents, depending on what your situation is. So when you call me or come to see me, then I can help to connect all those dots for you. So some people think of like all the steps, like you talking about in recovery, all of those processes that you have to go through. We can help to make that process so much smoother for you, because this is what we do. You come in, you say, this is what I want to do. How can you help me? And we can lay out a pathway for anyone that comes through the door in a personalized plan to, get their education. So, financial aid, access to people like Eastern Maine Development Corporation, access to scholarships. We always have some form of scholarships, such as the OSHA scholarship that provides free opportunities for people to get started without any obligation. You can pay the tuition, the fees, the books. So we're always looking to bring, those resources that people hear about that are happening in other parts of the state. I'm all about bringing them here to Millinocket. I grew up here. I graduated high school in 1980 when we had, a couple hundred people in the class. And I look now at, we're trying to attract youth and younger people to come back to the region. We need every single body, everybody in this room, we need to have opportunities for people to go to work. Because I feel that, there's a huge disconnect with people that have been through recovery or still recovering, and we can help provide pathways to get people back to work and providing opportunities with new employers that are looking to come here. They won't come here if we don't have a workforce. So we need everyone to take advantage of these opportunities to be able to go back to school and be part of that new workforce, because we need everyone. The Army's not big enough. We need them all. And, and I encourage anyone that has someone in their family or yourself that wants to find out more, please give me a call. My information is at the back of the room, and I'll be happy to help. If I can't help you, I'll connect you with the person that can help. So thank you. And thank you for everything that you've been through, and welcome me to come to present tonight.
Thank you.
We have Kyle Leathers joining us over Zoom, as you can probably see. Hi, Kyle.
All right, hopefully, can you hear me?
Sure we can hear him, just a moment. Can you say something, Kyle?
Yep,
Um,
all set.
Say something again?
Can you hear me?
Sorry for the delay. These freaking hybrid events. Try one more time, Kyle.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
There we go.
this is why you should never volunteer to go first on Zoom. So my name is Kyle Leathers. I'm here tonight representing the Katahdin Response Network. It's actually led by Jane Danforth. Unfortunately, she could not be here tonight. And the Katahdin Response Network is a local coalition of organizations and individuals who all want to be a part of the solution for prevention, treatment, and recovery for this area. That also includes organizations and individuals from the Bangor area, from Holton, from some of our leaders in Augusta even. So it's a pretty big group. And I would say basically, so we meet every month, once a month. In fact, the next meeting is next Monday. So if anybody is interested in joining that, I will give you that information in a little bit. But every month we have different topics, different speakers who talk about either prevention, treatment, or recovery. And if I would say, if you like what you've seen with this series over the past month, then you would like to be a part of our coalition, because it's almost all the same faces that I see tonight who go to all of those meetings as well. And so we meet Mondays. It's usually the third or fourth Monday of the month, sort of working around school vacations and things like that. And so we're meeting this coming Monday at 3 o'clock on Zoom. It's virtual only. And if you want to be a part of that, I would say the best way to get the Zoom invitation would be to email Jane, and that's jdanforth@mrhme.org. Or you could probably ask somebody in that room for the Zoom invitation, because it's already gone out, and several people in that room already have that email that they could share with you. It's just such a great group. We've been going for a few years now. There's a little bit of a break at the beginning of the pandemic as we tried to figure out going from in-person meetings to virtual. But the thing that I've been most proud of is seeing how many of the people, including some people here, have been able to connect with other people who have similar interests or similar ideas. And actually they go from our meetings and get a lot of stuff done. And so I'm super proud to see those connections being made over the past few years. So I guess if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them.
That information is on the resource list also.
It is, yeah.
Yep.
And
And
I'll start passing that out soon.
The other project, we will have a rack card, so a little brochure with a lot of the resources that you will be seeing or have heard from today. And so that will be going out in the communities pretty soon as well.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Alexis Pedersen. I'm the clinical supervisor for Mobile Crisis from Community Health and Counseling. So Mobile Crisis is a statewide program your first response when you call the statewide hotline actually goes to an organization called the Opportunity Alliance out of Portland. So they man the hotline for the 1-888-568-111, 1152 number. That's the main crisis number. So the Opportunity Alliance folks are who speak with it first. If they triage your call to needing an in-person response or a mobile response from your area, folks that live in Penobscot and Piscataquis County are transferred to community health and counseling and our mobile team. So especially with everything going on with COVID and what these last couple of years have been, we have expanded service to include Zoom, in-person, phone. We see folks at our office, we see folks in their homes and their communities and in different emergency departments in our area. Really base that service on whatever the client's most comfortable with and is safe for not only the client, but our staff. So people call for mental health concerns, calling needing support, co-occurring disorders, substance use, anything like that. And we really are kind of the gatekeepers from some services. We help folks get into inpatient care as well as crisis stabilization units on top of a lot of community work. We do a lot of referrals to community-based supports, like all the presenters that are here tonight. So really, it's a gateway service. We're here to support people when they're in crisis, but also connect them to those next steps and those next treatment providers. And it's statewide, but CHCS is Penobscot and Piscataquis County. Any questions on crisis or how to access us?
Not seeing any in the room here, but thank you so much for sharing about that.
Of course. Thank you, everybody, and thanks for sharing your stories tonight.
I think, Doug had,
Oh,
no, sorry, not Doug. Doug is ready.
yeah, Doug Dunbar, can we hear from you next about EMDC?
Sure. Actually, though, I did have a question for our last speaker, and did we? I'm sorry, Alexis, if you're still there. And I'll touch upon this in a moment, but I have real interest in crisis response in our county. I'm in Bangor. Is the mobile crisis, and I know it's more than mobile, thank goodness, is it available 24/7? Okay, and because I'll get to, I'm going to wear two hats when I speak, so thank you for that. I've been meaning to connect with Dale Hamilton and learn more about a lot of different things, so I need to do that. But thank you. So I'm Doug Dunbar. I'm a person in recovery. I've been incarcerated because of mental illnesses that led to self-medicating with alcohol, that led to 136 days incarcerated, which led to 15 months in the Penobscot County Adult Drug Treatment Court. Going to jail, ended a 30-year career in government. I worked in the US House, the US Senate, the governor's office, the legislature. I was Maine's Deputy Secretary of State. I point that out because mental health issues, which I've had my entire life, OCD and anxiety, and substance use disorder can happen to anybody. The wealthy, the poor, the educated, the uneducated, it doesn't matter. I tell people I'm the face of a felon. I'm the face of mental illness. I'm the face of substance use disorder. I also have a master's degree. I play the piano. I've had dinner at the White House and so on. So I tell my story, as Peter had said, because we have to tell our stories. You know, if more people don't explain what they've gone through in life and destigmatize and demystify these illnesses, we'll never reach the point where we should be. If we can't talk about these illnesses as we do about diabetes and heart disease and cancer, we'll never reach the point that we all want to reach. It's just that simple. Stories make a difference. Facts, figures cause our eyes to roll back into our head. Personal stories can make a difference. I know they do. They make a difference for me, and I've heard it from many, many people. So the more people who can tell their story, and not everyone can, I get that. If I was 25 years old rather than 55 years old and just starting my career, I might not be as willing to tell my story. But for those who can speak up, please speak up. We need to hear more stories. So at Eastern Maine Development Corporation, I'm fortunate to have this job. I've worked here for the past 3 years. And as Deb Roundtree said, we work to try to help people get into education, training, and employment. And I spend much of my time talking with people in recovery or reentering from jails and prisons. We have one particular workforce program called Connecting with Opportunities, and it's focused on the opioid crisis to help people who've been personally or indirectly impacted by opioid use disorder. The federal government gives us the money from Washington. They tell us who's eligible. Not everyone is, but many, many, many people in recovery or in a reentry situation are eligible. So I always tell people, listen, if you or someone you know is unemployed or working but earning little and wants some help, feels a need for some help to move forward, please contact us. Kevin Gregory, I'm going to put it in the chat right now. Kevin Gregory is a terrific person. He's in your area. He's the workforce development specialist in the Millinocket area. I'm in Bangor. I do a lot of the outreach and promotion and presenting kind of thing. And I'm available. Feel free to get in touch with me. As I said, if anyone's unemployed or working but earning little and wants some help, that person owes it to himself or herself to have a 15-minute conversation with somebody like me or Kevin, because it could be life-changing. And if we can't help you, if you're not eligible for one of our programs, we may well know of a different agency or an organization that can be helpful. My nephew right now, who I didn't think would live to be 32 years old because of his substance use disorder, Nick is in recovery and he's going to college in Bangor now because of this Connecting with Opportunities initiative. We're paying for his tuition, his books, transportation reimbursement to get to and from the college. So these programs I know personally and from working with people can be life-changing. The last thing I want to say, wearing a different hat, and just to make it clear, I'm putting a hat on. This is a different Doug wearing a different hat. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is there are a lot of wonderful things happening in Millinocket. Here's the bad news. If you don't get more resources, more money, you can't expand what you're doing. You can't help many more people. And right now is an opportunity to potentially get more money. Penobscot County has $30 million almost, and some of it should be going to Millinocket to help with these issues. Beginning April 15th, the county commissioners in Penobscot County will open up the application process. And I really encourage, and I've said this to Heidi and to Susan and to so many others, come together on one or two projects that you think would really make a difference, maybe 3 projects. Maybe get a little money from each of the towns. I know it's not easy. Get a little money, a little bit of their ARPA monies, and then get, put in a request for the county to give you money for 2, maybe 3 projects. Come together, do that. You have time, but you really need to act on it. There will never be an opportunity like this that I'm aware of, where there'll be so much money available for these purposes. There's money available from the federal government for lots of other things because of COVID, your roads, your bridges, and so on, and broadband. No money specifically earmarked, specifically dedicated to these purposes. And the money is available now. I'll stop talking. Thank you.
Next we have Lana. Lana, you're muted.
Oh, I just did that.
We'll just give her one more second to unmute you.
All right, can everybody hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, awesome, awesome. I'm sorry, I had myself muted too because I've got a couple of young ones running around here getting ready for bed. But thank you so much for the invite. I've connected with a few of you folks up there and really grateful for that. My name is Lena Whittamore. I'm the Development Director for Blue Sky Counseling. I'm actually down in Lewiston right now, but we are an organization kind of based out of Waterville, but we also have a main office in Bangor. We also have outreach offices in Skowhegan, Rumford, Farmington, Augusta, and Lewiston. And the reason for those smaller offices is to really support folks with being able to get to an office, to be able to reach telehealth if they need that, and to be able to do UAs. So we offer an MHE program. We utilize Suboxone for medically assisted treatment. And we just started opening that up to Millinocket. So really, really happy to work with this community and see how we can expand services. I've heard a couple of themes tonight and talking about when people are ready, and also talking about there's, no wrong way to get to recovery. And Suboxone MAT services is just another way for folks to be able to utilize a different type of service if that's what they need to be able to get where they want to be. I'm really thankful to have worked with Michael Paddleford. Some of you guys have probably heard of him. He's a recovery coach. I actually met him on a board of directors that we're involved with down here in this area called an Angel Wing. And we're actually a nonprofit that helps send folks to detox and rehab that either Maine Care won't pay for if they don't have insurances. Michael came down south to get sober because he came from Calais and there are next to no services. So he started that push. And so Millinocket's kind of where we found our next spot coming out of the Bangor area. We would love to go north and really be able to support folks that need that level of care in these rural communities where they're having to travel so far and they have so many barriers to be able to get that. So we've been really, really thankful for our connections with peer-to-peer and also with Heidi in breaking the cycle. We're open to any other program that wants to partner and work with us. Peer-to-peer has been great about giving us some space so that if folks want to come into the center and access their services, we can do that. It's kind of a chicken or egg process, so we have to have some clients in that area to be able to actually create an office. One thing we know is that in that area and farther north, there are a lot of folks that need help, also smaller population. So trying to build that so that we can continue to expand and go further up north as we know that that's really a need. I think that we've welcomed our first 6 or 7 clients now in Millinocket. So really, really happy that that word is getting out there and those folks are getting that support if they need it. The program that we run is an OHH, so the Opiate Health Home. Again, not a residential treatment, but the idea that folks can get kind of whatever they need out of that service, whether it's obviously the Suboxone, so they're working with a med provider. They do have to go to at least 2 groups a month, working with a counselor. But we also have the recovery coaching and some, peer navigation, working some case management type support. So we really want to be able to continue to expand that. I think a lot of the folks in the room have maybe met my coworker Alice, who's our clinical director out of Bangor, and she's been amazing. She's been driving up there on Fridays to connect with folks. She's been spending some time at peer-to-peer, also has gone to breaking the cycle, and she's really open to going anywhere, talking to anybody. One of the biggest physical barriers, although we're able to use telehealth a lot, is getting those UAs, which we do need as a safety measure as prescribed by the state. And so, you folks being able to support with that has been instrumental in us being able to start folks on services. We know that when somebody is ready, we've talked about people have to be ready tonight, and they do have to be ready, but when they're ready, sometimes there's a very small window of time to be able to support them with getting to that service. We try very hard to get folks into a first day intake and a first day med appointment. And if they're able to do even a dip urine, we're able to get them a prescription that same day. So again, none of that is guaranteed. It depends on availability, but we really open that up to try to keep that open for folks. And the more, local folks that we have that are willing to partner with us and help support with that, the faster we can get folks in. And we just know being able to get that initial MAT to them can be the difference in whether, they decide to use again because of those withdrawal symptoms. So anyway, I just want to welcome you guys all the way here from Lewiston. Again, Alice is our Bangor clinical coordinator, and she has been coming up there, and I know that she's loving the community. You guys have been very welcoming, and we just want to continue to expand those services as much as possible, as we're hearing there's a significant need in the area. So again, thank you for having me here tonight.
We've had several candidates that had to leave, and I know that we have a couple who are also in the boat of having small children, and so I think that they might be backed away from their computers right now.
Do we have any other resources, or should we wrap up for now?
Was Heidi going?
she's in South Carolina. I'm gonna kind of, here, I'll go back to the camera, I guess. I want to read the room. I know it's almost 8:30. Heidi Wheaton did prepare about a 15-minute answer to the question of where do we go from here, from her perspective. And that's something that I can share for those of you who want to stick around. But I realize it's late. So what are people feeling?
Oh, we want to hear Heidi.
You want to hear Heidi? Because there's also the option, you know, I can post it online later on this resource page and you can watch it. I'll separate it out from the call or from the rest of this program. Or we can show it now for anyone who wants to see it.
Can you do both?
We can do both. But can I get a show of hands? Raise your hand if you want to watch the video right now, right here. Okay, we got 3. Anyone on Zoom or 4? Okay.
We've got at least one on Zoom.
One on Zoom.
Yeah.
All right. So how about we give it a 1 to 2 minute pause and let people trickle out who would like to, and then we'll play it for those who, yeah. But before you do leave, I just wanted to remind everyone that next week, same time, same place, but in person only, we will be doing a final session for this 5-week series where we're going to be processing what we've talked about and having more room to share other stories, because I know there's other folks who had success stories who didn't have the time to share.
This like year round.
Yeah, and figuring out how do we continue this momentum. So that'll be next Tuesday. And again, the resource page on our website is Millinocket Memorial Library.org/recovery. All right, we're gonna play Heidi's video for those of you who are still here. Okay.
Yep.
And those on Zoom, let me know if you can't see or hear, please.
My name is Heidi Wheaton. I'm the Executive Director of Breaking the Cycle. It's a level 3 recovery residency for women in Millinocket, Maine. We have been open for almost 2 years now. Our bed facility is maximum capacity at 12. We've only had 7 thus far as a capacity because we have 1 per room due to COVID standards right now, and we are a nonprofit, so in order for us to take the full 12, we have to have a board decision that we are at that point in this COVID criteria that we can do that. So I expect that will happen soon. Level 3 requires 24-hour supervision in the house. We earn our privileges here usually within a month to be able to go out in the community independently, to be able to go to events, things like that, go volunteer in the community. We do that. We usually do that about once a week if we have the opportunity to kind of give back and to show people what we're all about. The ladies are expected to go and have their doctors in the community, their counselors, substance use, mental health counselors in the community, medically assisted treatment in the community, and also med management in the community. Any specialty doctors, eye appointments, dentists, we make sure that everybody gets to all of those appointments. Usually we go to Bangor twice a week, and we enjoy going to the barn, and it is a 12-step program of recovery of your choice. So the expectation is that it is a 3 to 6 month program. We have found that 6 months is the really magic spot for people to be able to not only stabilize what they're working on and get all of their providers and get their medications adjusted, but also to work through some of the steps that are going to give them the stability that they're looking for and to build the natural support system that is going to continue to help them in the community. So we have also opened up an apartment house afterward. So I went and did that myself. And so it is an LLC. And I have 2 ladies that have completed the program last year living there now and reuniting with their children, or one actually had a baby. So welcomed him to the world, and now he's here, and you'll probably see him a little bit later in the video. So we're very excited about what we're doing, and I'm hopefully going to continue to have sober living housing for individuals that have completed treatment and are looking to maintain sobriety in our area. We are a huge proponent in helping out Wabanaki Public Health right now and trying to partner with them as much as we can with the Healing Lodge, with the Gathering Place, with their men's house that is coming to Millinocket, and with whatever else we can support them in. We're really trying to work together on this and bring this to our community. In order to talk about where we go from here, I kind of want to backtrack a little bit to where I came from. I have over 30 years of experience working in the social work field, case management, adult protective, the Women's Project, children's services, children's case management, juvenile case management. I've pretty much worked with every population, including substance use disorder. And before I hit my bottom, before I became an alcoholic, full blown, I think I was probably in the making since I was 13 years old, and I come from a very long line of alcoholics. What I have seen work is you have to have a wraparound of supports for individuals that are seeking this level of intervention for addiction issues, because it's never just addiction issues. I have not met one individual that does not have either anxiety, ADHD, or depression, bipolar, PTSD, borderline personality disorder, other types of personality disorder, other issues for mental health that have somehow come into play one way or the other, before or after, doesn't really matter, because it is what it is when you reach your bottom, and your bottom requires climbing out of that hole. And each person that walks through the door, breaking the cycle, and why I chose to do this was to give people that opportunity to get out of that lifestyle and out of that vicious cycle. And my grandson actually named this, and I want to make mention of him because he's now 12, but he set something in motion when he was at a women's meeting where I was getting a chip years ago. He was about 7 or 8. And he said, "Grammy, can I say something?" And I said, "Absolutely, buddy." And he said, "I want to break the cycle in our family." And it just resonated with me to the point where I decided to move back from central and southern Maine after 30 years in this field, working mobile crisis, working the crisis units, working the crisis line. I've had experience doing all of that and loved every moment of doing those types of things in my career, but this was in my heart. And so with the incredible miracles that happened around me and the people that were put in my path, and I happen to strongly believe in a higher greater than myself, which is I choose God. He put people in my path that were able to help me not only form an LLC to buy a house, to be able to have these women come into it and to start a nonprofit organization with Randy Jackson and Jane Danforth and Joe Trinkelly and Rob Karobkin and Sherry Day. It's just been an incredible opportunity for me to be able to have these individuals helping to guide this project and to move forward with what I consider that second phase, which I've done independently. But again, if you don't have a wraparound of supports, if we have these individuals complete a program and we don't have any place to put them, if we don't have the right housing, if we don't have the opportunities to continue to have them, move forward with their education, none of this is done in a day. When they have everything from legal issues to medication changes to med management issues to MAT to counseling services for the PTSD to getting back into any kind of vocation or finishing their high school diplomas or starting a new job or getting transportation or getting their children back and reuniting with their children, all of these things take a huge amount of effort and energy to be able to get through all of the mess that has been created. And maybe they've never actually been stable in any of these areas. Maybe they've always floundered in poverty and never completed their education or never followed the path that I consider to be what your gifts are in your life. And given that opportunity, what is their passion? What is going to make them happy? What is going to fulfill them so that they can feel like they're making that difference? And what are they good at? What do they want to do with the rest of their life? When you start asking these questions, people get really excited. So the things that need to happen in each one of our communities
And I was sitting at a table with my parents last night, and I don't want to get emotional, but I drove around the neighborhood and I remember almost every house, who lived there and what they meant to me. And it was blocks around my house. And I could name names, and a lot of the people were in my class. And I remember, standing outside a light post or playing till it was dark outside, or, going and playing softball or hide and seek, all of these things where we knew all of our neighbors and they were there for us. So when I talk about next steps, part of this is doing what we had done in Millinocket for eons when I was growing up. And I think it still stands to some extent that those values, those family values are still there, and those morals and ethics. So that when we do go to church, we're welcomed. We are, we give hugs, and we are asked to come back, no matter which church we go to with the girls. We'll go to a volunteer in our community, and that's what we try to do to give back and to show people that there's nothing these girls can't do. They're beyond intelligent and sensitive individuals and capable individuals. And once we get them sober, then sky's the limit for any of these guys. And so going out and giving back to the community, whether it's helping somebody get ready for a yard sale, or cleaning out a basement, or mowing a lawn, or cleaning their house because they can't get to certain things anymore, or helping the Wabanaki get ready for events, or clean their buildings, or anything and everything that we can do for service. We want to be our good neighbors. We want to be able to set that tone with each other. I would love to say that we didn't have to lock our doors anymore like when I grew up. I would love to be able to say, I know everybody in a 2-block radius again, and that I'm making sure that they have a connection to me and I have a connection to them, and kind of getting back to those old school values of knowing if somebody's sick, or knowing if somebody needs help, or knowing whether or not they need a babysitter because somebody's got something else to do, and being able to be there for each other as neighbors. But there's so many avenues that we're not taking advantage of in our area, in Millinocket area right now. And we don't ask about things that we don't know about. And part of that is speaking out about addiction. Part of that is recovering out loud, and being okay and taking it out of the closet, not being ashamed of this anymore. So that when you're talking to your grandmother, or somebody's mother, or somebody's aunt, or something like that, to understand the addiction is a disease, and it's not to be shamed and to be treated as such. It's something to be supported and helped, so that we can help that individual regain all the control back in their life. Addiction takes all of that away. So you need things like, the other thing I wanted to mention was the options program, which the police are supposed to be starting to work with. And that is helping individuals that have either overdosed, or are at risk, or have been found to have addiction issues. So it's kind of like a police liaison. And I know that we've had them come and speak with Cna Response Network. And it's again one of those things of, when are we going to have time to do that? If we don't ask the police, are they coming up? Have they come up yet? Do we need to do something to help facilitate that? Is there a training that we can do to help out with that? The same with the mobile crisis team. We have CHCS, which I was a part of their team until I stepped down and took this role. And we were going into the hospitals. We were going into the community for any child, any youth, teenager, any adult that was at risk for mental health issues, that maybe needed to go to a crisis unit, that maybe needed to go to the hospital and get evaluated, that maybe needed to just have additional supports put into their house, or somebody just there to check up on them when they do leave the hospital. All of these things can take place through these organizations. And I don't know that everybody is, again, utilizing these resources and having the follow-up that could happen from an ER visit to a warm, handoff to the crisis team to actually say, do you need extra help? Do we need to help you set up counseling? Do we need to help you set up case management? Do we need to help you set up rides to get to Bangor for whatever it is? Our community
is going to continue to grow. And the apartment that I just purchased in November has got an office space that I just worked out so that I'll be partnering with Well Springs. And they're going to be sending counselors down here eventually. Right now, they're going to start on Zoom, but they're coming into Millinocket and they want to help anybody in the community, not just my girls, but anybody in the community with substance use disorder, with mental health issues, with PTSD issues. And so I want to have people understand that they're coming to Millinocket. You can call them. The office is going to be at 19 Central Street. I'm working with Blue Sky Counseling right now, which I worked really well with in the Lewiston area. And they have the medically assisted treatment. They've given me permission to start the girls on that at my program. So I will be doing that if the girls want to choose that route, because they get to have that choice. Or if they need to in the community, then peer-to-peer is also trying to partner with them right now. So eventually, if they get enough people in our community that needs that resource, which I know they do, then absolutely we can have them have an office here. You know, I work with CPS on a regular basis and have been, so that we can reunite families, so that when we get them into apartments and they need case management or they need anything for kids' peace, anything at all, you know, I've done the job long enough so that I know the wraparound of supports in our area, and I can actually say that these things work. We need more foster families. CHCS does foster family training, and we need people to step up for that so that we can have the children not so far from home. You know, I mean, there's so many things that we can utilize for resources right now, but each person has to take a stand and figure out what they can do to help. They have to figure out whether or not they can help with construction, or whether or not they can help by figuring out if they can make a donation. Right, I was always looking for donations, or whether or not we can help with the yard sale, or whether or not we can help to raise money in a fundraiser. Anything and everything, everybody has the ability. So think about what we could do just to get daycares in our area so that our moms could continue with their education, to be able to get the rec department that we've been talking about forever, so that youth have some place to go, to get Alateen here, to get children's AA, Alatot, I think it's called, to get that up and running in our area, to be able to get transportation in our area, to meet the needs of these individuals that otherwise are going to continue to flounder, and they're not going to get the help that they need. And so each one of us has a responsibility to our community. And I've been brought back to Millinocket. This is where my heart is. This is where my home is. This is where I learned my values and morals and ethics. And this is where I want to leave my legacy when I get done, and I can do no more. But right now, every person in this town has a responsibility to try to help each other and reach out and make a connection and figure out how they can help. Penobscot Cares is a big advocate right now with the money that's coming through from ARPA. The Katahdin Response Network is a huge proponent. The MPRN, which is Maine Prison Reentry Network, is a huge proponent in what I do on a regular basis to try to get women out of jail that have no reason of being there other than their addiction issues. And it does not help. And you'll hear more about that in our segments as we continue to go along. But it doesn't help to punish somebody for having addiction issues. It doesn't help to penalize them and to make them feel punitive and to put them down and to strip away their rights and to take away their sense of self. It just, because we already feel that way. We already have that going. So we have to give them the hand up. We have to be the person to show them their potential and their abilities and get them excited about their life. And what better place to do that than around these gorgeous mountains and lakes and rivers and streams and, you know, snowmobiling activities that the girls go on, and, you know, hiking and camping and canoeing and kayaking. And, you know, I mean, I could go on forever, but we get them excited about life again. And I hope that everybody takes the initiative to figure out how they can be of support to your neighbors. These are your neighbors. The people with addiction issues are your neighbors. Don't kid yourself. They're on your block. They're in your town. They're struggling.
they're poor, they have children, and they need help. So thank you.
All right, that officially wraps up our program for the night. I think it's great how she kind of contextualized a lot of the resources that shared, and I think it's really going to take partnership, like she said, for us all to be aware of these resources and leveraging them together to make an impact. So thanks for joining us tonight. Hope to see you guys next week, and we'll have this recording and Heidi's video separately available on the website as soon as we can.
Thank you for everything.